Okay, today we're going to be mixing some glass clay. This is a new product. It's called Glass Clay. It's by Clay Mania Art Clay Incorporated. It comes with several tubes of different colors. We're going to mix up today. We're going to mix up the Grenadine Red. They suggest that you first wear your HEPA particulate filter dust mask when mixing this, because you are mixing powdered glass and you want to protect yourself. Pop open the lid. Helps if you open it from the right side. And disperse as much powder as you want. I think I'm going to use about half a vial. Now you mix this with some distilled water. You can use regular tap water, but there are minerals that might be in your particular water that might change the color of the glass. So they suggest that you use distilled water. You're going to mix just a little at a time. They suggest using either a plastic knife or a metal knife, but no wood. So a little bit more. You want to get a consistency that is like clay. You don't want to add too much water at a time. It's easier to add more water than try to let it set and dry up. Continue working it with your plastic knife or metal knife. And once you get all the powdered mixed together, then you put a little bit of olive oil on your hands. Just a little bit. You don't want to contaminate the glass too much. So just rub a little bit of olive oil into your hands. And then what you're going to do is scoop up the clay, and you're going to knead it and play with it a little bit. This is to condition it. If it sticks to your hands, it means you don't have enough olive oil there. So now what you do is you just play with it. You knead it, and you roll it, and this just conditions the clay. Do it for just a few minutes. And then you can store it in a plastic bag, a Ziploc bag, and put it in your refrigerator and let it set overnight, and that will let it relax a little bit and help it to set up. I try to get all the clay I can, because the stuff is not cheap and I don't like to waste. And then just simply seal up your bag, get out any excess air, and put it in the refrigerator. Okay, my wax has been setting in the fridge for a couple of days. I'm going to take it out and just knead it a little bit to get it conditioned again. There are several ways you can play with this clay. You can actually purchase little cutters that you can use to cut designs out of it. You can use a little knife to cut off sections. A roller, if you're going to use a roller, be sure you put a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to just put a little bit on my hand, not too much, just enough to cover it a little bit so that your clay doesn't stick to the roller. And you can actually roll your clay out. Now I have purchased a cute little pendant holder, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll my clay out, and then I'm going to cut it. This clay is going to shrink up about, depending on how high you fire the clay, it will actually shrink up about 20%. So I'm just going to cut around the edges of this just to get kind of a general idea. Remove the excess clay. Now I have my, and I'm doing this on wax paper so it doesn't stick. Remember, you don't want to eat or drink around your materials because you are working with glass. This clay will stay in the fridge. If it's mixed, it will stay in there for about 2 weeks without any problems. Now this is just a textured piece, and it's going to add a little pattern. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little pattern in the design. And what I'll do is, once it's done firing, I'm going to just glue it into this. Okay, I have a little bit of red mixed up also. And it's been in the fridge, so I'm going to condition it a little bit. And I found these really cute little flower patterns. These are just candy molds. Now you can press your clay into the mold, and then when it comes out it will have your pattern on it, or you can press your clay into the mold and freeze it and then just pop them out when they're frozen. But what I'm going to do is just cut as much clay as I need off of this. And then I'll just press it into the mold to pick up the pattern, and now there's not all that excess clay on it. But the red is a little bit gooey, so I think I will stick it in the freezer and let it freeze up. That way it'll get hard and it'll just come right out of this mold without any problems. You're going to want to freeze it for at least about an hour or so. Yeah, the red is not as thick as the black. Now the way you could make that a little better is if you were to add a little more of the powder to it, and then it wouldn't be as gooey. Let's try this rose. Wasn't that fond of this design yesterday because you can't really see the pattern that well, so we won't use that one for now. They also make these little polymer clay molds that you could use. Now these you couldn't do the freeze and fuse because they're not going to pop out like the candy molds do, but as you can see, you can press into that and then just cut your design out with a knife.